Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. This is your boy, Sir Rev the Servant, and I'm here with my co-host who's on the ride with me, Play B.
What's up?
Well, I have a disclaimer because I messed up because
this was paranormal.
I was so excited about our guest today that I was just so focused and jumping in the conversation that I, the audio guy, forgot to
the video guy
forgot to transfer the video over and while we were recording. So today's episode for you watching on the video, there will be no actual video footage of our podcast today, but instead there will be a picture of our beautiful faces and also a photo of our guest, Heather. So apologies to Heather for this error on my part. Maybe it was paranormal. Maybe
I think it was. I think it was.
But
sorry,
anyway,
Heather.
So enjoy the show. We were really glad and excited to have Heather on, and it was a great show. So for your listening enjoyment, go ahead and enjoy our Halloween special with all of our decorations here on our set and our interview with Heather.
Yo, what's going on, TAP? That's right. This your boy Play B chillin'. I want to welcome you guys to the show. This is the Apocalypse Project, and you officially been tapped. I'm chilling right here with my co-host, Sir Rev the Servant. What's going on, Rev? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Sir Rev the Servant, and of course, we're here. And of course, welcome to our set. Today is a special day because we are celebrating Halloween. And on the phone today, we have a special guest all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. It is Heather, who runs the Las Vegas Paranormal.
Man.
Heather, how are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you doing?
We're doing great now that we're able to talk to you. I know you can't see us right now, so Heather is on the phone. Usually we video chat, but this is different, so you can't actually see us and see our fabulous set. We got it decorated for the occasion, specifically for two occasions. For this interview we're doing with you, and also for the Halloween season. This is our Halloween special. Yay! So anyway, so Heather, welcome on, and we really haven't had a chance to talk and know each other. One of our previous guests, Randy, who came on and shared a couple of his experiences, and they were, for lack of a better term, they were just creepy, bone chilling.
They were interesting for real.
They were interesting.
Yeah, they really were.
But we learned a lot. I learned a lot. I mean, I've known Randy for a number of years, but I learned a lot about him within that interview. And then he also suggested that, hey, you guys should really talk to this person.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, let's get in touch. So we got in touch. So welcome on. First off, just tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about the Las Vegas Paranormal Group.
Okay. Well, actually, I've been researching paranormal for about 30 years, and most of it's been just behind the scenes, studying and visiting historical locations.
Okay.
And just more recently, I finished my PhD in paranormal science and have been doing investigations.
Nice.
And we just filmed a documentary out here in Vegas. Plus, my team, which is called Exploration Paranormal out here in Las Vegas, we just launched on Ghost Hunters Day, or Ghost Hunting Day.
So
nice.
Wait, so there's an actual, is it like a nationally recognized thing, or what is that?
Yes, it's national. It's called National Ghost Hunting Day, and what they do is there's an organization that gets as many ghost hunter teams around the country to get together and conduct an investigation on the same day, and they call it the world's largest ghost hunt.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
And it's all designed to help raise money for some of these historical locations that have been forgotten.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a great cause. So what does it take? I mean, not that I don't think we have the experience at all, but what would it take, or what does it take to get on that national, is it like a national registry of ghost hunters or something?
Yeah, there's several different ghost hunter registries that you can sign up for. I can't think of any of them off the top of my head, but I think Paranormal Societies is one of them. And you just submit your team, how to contact you, and what you do. But then for the National Ghost Hunting Day, if you just Google search that, it'll come up, and there are ways that you can either attend an event or sign your team up to host an event.
Gotcha. Okay. And so we're here in the Central Valley of California, and I think we've gotten, not in contact, but we've been invited to a few of what they would call ghost hunts or ghost tours. I think it was what they're called, ghost tours or ghost walks. How different is that, or is it similar to what you kind of do in Las Vegas?
It's kind of similar because we partnered with it's a museum out here called McCaw School of Mining.
Okay.
And we just held our first event, which was basically we gave everybody a tour of the location, told them where the haunted activity is, and then everybody got a chance to just go around and practice their paranormal investigating skills. And we helped them if anyone had questions and guided them to it. So it's kind of similar where they get the tour. And then as far as what we do as a team, we're more scientific when we come to our approaches. So we'll still help clients if they need help, but we like to go to places and get scientific data to back up the reasons why a place is haunted.
Okay, nice. That's really interesting because there is I wanted to ask specifically.
Yeah, well, because the historical aspect of it is what fascinates me the most. I like looking into, even when I go and explore like another city of, like maybe San Francisco or whatnot, what have you. And I like to look at the old buildings and just look at how they were built. I don't know if that's just me, but
yeah, it's interesting.
But then I always think about just think the people that build this are no longer with us, and I wonder if there's some kind of connection to
some
that
residuals.
building.
Yeah, Randy was talking with us about residuals, but really quick, because I know you had and you glossed over a couple of things, and it was all so interesting. And I'm hoping that we have time today, if not maybe in the future, to kind of dissect a little of those things that you just threw out there. Number one, you mentioned that you had gotten a degree in paranormal research.
Right
now, is that like, do you go to like UNLV for that, or how do you obtain a degree in the paranormal sciences?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it's not available currently at your mainstream four-year universities.
Okay.
And where I went through was the Institute of Metaphysical and Humanistic Science. They offer a whole bunch of degrees, from religious degrees to parapsychology, ufology, and also cryptozoology.
Interesting. Okay.
And they're an accelerated program where you just dive in. You don't do any of the math or science or anything like that. You just dive into whatever you're studying, and you can go at your own pace. And I received the PhD in June, but they have a ton of other programs available.
That's awesome. I want to look into that. I want to get some.
That is a new
because the
concept
cryptozoology is something that's near and dear to my heart. Like, I honestly believe there is Bigfoot. Like, a lot of people look at me crazy for whatever reason when I mention the name Bigfoot or other cryptids. To me, like, when you speak of paranormal, I'd like to throw it all into that one generic word,
a generic category.
Per se. It's like I put aliens in there, I put UFOs, cryptids, and ghosts and spirits.
Well, let me ask this, especially since we're talking to an expert here. So, a lot of people, whether it's cryptids, whether it's ufology, or whether it's paranormal activity, spirits, ghosts, and those things, do you believe that all those are related, or they're completely separated in different categories?
I would believe that they're under the same umbrella. So yeah, almost kind of like the animal kingdom. They're all under that paranormal realm, but then they each have their own different kingdom and category. But they also are investigated the same way. You go in with the mindset of you have a theory, and then you try to get the data that backs up the theory or disproves your theory.
Okay. And what have you seen in your studies? How do they overlap? Like, people that have experience that's with, cryptids, whatever they may be, or with the paranormal, do some people that you've seen that talk about cryptids, maybe they're actually talking about something that's in the spiritual realm? Like, have you ever seen that overlap?
I haven't seen it personally, but I have heard a lot of stories where people will say, like, some of the activity that you hear in your backyard. It could easily, if it's not a raccoon, it could easily it could be Bigfoot, or it could be just a spirit lurking around in your backyard.
Gotcha. Nice. Gotcha. That's really interesting. So talk us a little bit more about your experience. You said you've had 30 years. That's another thing you kind of glossed over. And I'm like, let's back up and talk about that.
Well, initially, what got you interested into the paranormal, if you will, for lack of a better word?
Right. My first memory of having an experience was seeing my grandfather in the house that we had lived in. And he just kind of hovered and checked in on me. And that kind of got me thinking and interested. So I was doing a lot of reading, a lot of researching. And then from there, outside of the experiences I had with him, which lasted several years, we ended up going to Gettysburg once. And while I was at Spangler Spring, it felt, besides my camera equipment dying on me several times after changing the batteries,
someone
grabbed my shoulder and spun me around.
Okay.
And there was nobody near me.
So
wow, no way.
Really quick. And
That's awesome.
I want to talk about that.
That's
the technology
I
side
would,
of
you know,
it.
I give you a lot of credit because I would have ran away at that. I'd have been like, I'm out of here.
and I was yelling, you know, everyone else is probably looking at me crazy from the other side of the hill because I'm yelling, do it again, and there's nobody near me.
Oh my gosh. No
Well, you know what? It's funny
No
you say
way.
that. It's funny you say that because there's times in my house where, like, I swear I turn the light off, like, with the switch, and then it turns back on. And my wife looks at me crazy because I'm like, well, if you're here, do it again. Turn it back off or turn it back on or whatever, you know. And my wife looks at me, she's like, what the heck's wrong with you? I'm like, well, if it is paranormal, then they must be able to do it again. So I want to confirm that I'm not going crazy, you know.
And that's a good point. So Heather, really quick, because I know a lot of people. I mean, you have like in everything, whether it be like the religious studies or whether it be paranormal studies or whatever have you. There is a level of skepticism and a group of people that always looks at it too critically and say this. You know, there's an alternative. You know, the Occam razor kind of point of view kind of comes in. You know, the simplest solution is more than likely what actually is instead of anything else that is paranormal, supernatural. So how do you like how do you navigate those waters when somebody comes up to you and says you're, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful, but you're crazy.
Oh, I get that a lot.
Trust me, I hear it all the time.
Right?
And it's my theory on it is you first want to validate that, you know, what they believe is true, that yes, you might be right, there isn't a paranormal world, but my job is to prove there is.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the second thing is you want to bring them on an investigation with you because there's nothing more thrilling than watching a skeptic have their first experience.
For sure.
Okay, and I have expressed this before in past shows, especially with when Randy was on. And I'll be honest. Let me back up for a second. I never took Randy as an individual, or Angela, his wife, as an individual that would lend themselves to that way of thinking. And for me, I don't consider myself necessarily a skeptic or a denier, but I've just never had an experience. So I'm willing to listen to people with their experience. I find that interesting. But at the same time, I'm like, until it happens
we got to take
me,
we got to take you to a haunted location and let you, because you see now I've never seen things visually. All my experiences have been auditory, and which I think is in a way a little more creepy because it lets your imagination run away with what's going on in the situation at hand. Because it's like, wow, because I put it to you like this. Things in Hollywood, especially nowadays, everything's CGI, right? You know, everything's computer-generated image. But the things that my imagination can make up is scarier than anything Hollywood could come up with, you know? So when I've had my limited experiences, my mind just ran away with it. And then I creep myself out to the point where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need some medication or something. Am I going crazy? And that's one thing me and Randy were talking about on the show a while back. And he's like, no, for reals, you tend to feel that way because the community in a way is small that the masses are not going to understand until they experience that. And I think that's where Rudy's or Rev's at. It's like until you have your experience, it's like you really can't, you know, understand how one feels when they go through that, you know?
Yeah, so really quick, talk us a little bit more about your very first paranormal experience. You were talked about it was more of I guess of a family related issue, or not issue, but experience.
Yeah, it was my grandfather had died when I was around 6.
Okay.
It was just before I started kindergarten. And what had happened is we were outside playing in the snow and he had a heart attack.
Oh,
and I had never seen him until I was 17, and we actually had moved to a different house. So it was a house he had never lived in.
Oh, wow.
And it was that's what got my curiosity going, is like, because my knowledge at that time of the paranormal is the house was located where the person died was haunted, not somewhere else at the time. So that's what got me researching a little bit more. And it's like something new every day comes up for me to research. I'm like, I have a never ending to-do list.
That's
so
awesome.
Something new always comes up.
Yeah, but I love it. That's awesome. Because, you know, not to say that I research per se, but, you know, I like to listen to other podcasters that speak on this subject, like Jim Harold. And, you know, you got all these other podcasts out there doing great work, and I appreciate it. And whenever I hear them speaking on this subject, it's just like, it makes me so like curious that me and Rev were thinking about just trying to do like a cross country trip on just visiting different haunted locations. But like I was saying on the last show, though, it's like if I go into it with that mindset, I think I'm more susceptible to seeing or feeling or hearing things.
You're primed.
Yeah, so what's your advice for people that are out there trying to experience the paranormal for themselves?
Or do you recommend that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and if you do, what would you suggest they do? Like, should they go in there with a preconceived notion, or just let it happen organically, or how does that even work?
Right. Well, when it comes to paranormal tourism, that's not something that we like to say, hey, go to an abandoned building and start investigating. You want to, if you have no experience.
I'm on the wrong foot already.
Yeah.
If you have no experience in it, you want to, like, if you go traveling, you want to take a ghost tour or partner with a local paranormal team to, at least have that, knowledge and that experience with you. Because if you go in not knowing what you're doing, you open yourself up to a world of that you might not be ready for.
Yeah, and that's something
that's something we were worried about. Remember, Rev, when we went through the cemetery that one time?
Yes.
Yeah, we were so scared that we were going to bring back spirits with us. And
I was so nervous. So here's what we decided to do one night. I think it was last winter. Was I never had an experience. I'm like, there's a major thoroughfare in through our city. And there's a old cemetery that sits right there, but it's a major road that a lot of people drive through, and it's right across the street from an old county hospital, which is now, I think, a mental health facility. So anyway, we decided to drive by. Listen, we'll just gaze in, take a couple pictures, and see what happens. Well, there's this one street right off that dead ends right into one of the entrances into the cemetery, and I have a 1970 VW bus. And I was
we kept it classic all the way.
I kept it classic. It felt like the Scooby-Doo mystery machine. So I drove to the entrance, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden this dread just falls over me, because I'm thinking, it's a Volkswagen. If I drive in here and I break down, I got to get out, get in the engine, get under the car next to where these graves are. And it's just that I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Because though like I told you, I'm a skeptic, but there's still, I don't want to say skeptic, but there's just still this sense, like, what if? And I don't know if I could handle it.
The crazy thing about that night for me, because I got out of the van and I walked the cemetery. Well, on the sidewalk anyway.
On the outside.
The
perimeter.
I was too chicken to go in. But what really got me by surprise was we started at the newer end of the cemetery, and I walked my way to the older end of the cemetery, right? So as I got closer to the older end of the cemetery, it progressively got colder. Now, I rationalized it as, well, maybe there's more granite, because, as you get older and as the years go by, there's larger headstones and whatnot. So I rationalized it that way, but at the same time, I was telling Rev because we had walkie-talkies at the time. We were totally Scooby-Doo in and out, right? And,
amateur.
So I had the little GoPro on my chest doing the whole, just whatever. We're trying to emulate what we saw on TV, right?
Don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah. And but I did see like a green orb, and I radioed back to Rev. I go, dude, I don't know if that's like maybe like one of those solar lights maybe someone planted out there or something.
Yeah.
But as I got closer, it got brighter. But then when I got right up to it, I couldn't find out where it was at. So I don't know if that's a paranormal thing, but who's to say it wasn't? Because what would make that, what would make it go away if it was solar charged? By the time I got there, only 5 minutes had passed by.
Heather, critique our whole, like, just failure.
Total amateur.
Failure of a venture.
Well, first of all, I would have liked to have been in that cemetery with you guys. It sounds like an interesting one.
It was, and no, to make things worse, right across the street from that cemetery is an old hospital that they repurposed now for a mental health clinic, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking about it. We're like, if you failed in the hospital, you ended up across the street.
Yeah. So yeah. But anyways, continue. Like if you were to take a group out, like let's say there's something like, and the reality is, like, I wanted to tell you is, like, I frequent Vegas plenty, and if I were to go out there, what would be the number one, or the step one? Somebody who's never had a paranormal experience, who's curious about it, but isn't trying to prove a point, like, I'm going to prove this is fake. Who's genuinely saying, hey, I want to just see if there's anything out there that I can experience.
There are places all over. I mean, even though it's not widely advertised, just because, like, the hotels and the casinos don't like to pinpoint this is haunted,
right,
there are hauntings up and down the strip.
I can see how that's bad for business, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's, because, like, at the Titanic Museum at the Luxor, there's reports of just outside it seeing people walking around, and like in the middle of the night when they turn around, there's nobody there.
Oh wow.
People are citing things all over the Strip is a big one. And then I'm trying to think. We have a couple parks out here, and if you're just starting out, I always suggest going to a park. Bring your camera, your video recorder, and your digital voice recorder with.
Right.
And just go to a park and find a bench to sit down and start talking. It's a great way to practice.
And just try to just leave it on record to capture EVP or
Yeah, to capture the EVP and
nice.
Yeah, because Green Valley Park and Fox Ridge Park out here have reports of hauntings. I've never experienced anything at those parks, but a lot of people say they have.
Oh man. Well, okay. Let me ask you one thing, because we had something we were discussing on a show a couple weeks ago. And I had mentioned to Rudy, and I don't know who was there, actually, be honest with you. But I was like, how many times have we been walking around downtown in our cities or just walking anywhere? And because I have experience where I felt someone out of place, like that person don't belong. Like, this is just, it just seems, you just get that vibe. And I said, well, because Rev was saying how he's never had an experience. I go, but how many times have we walked by a ghost without knowing that we walked by a ghost?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you believe they're or can they be translucent, transparent, or are they solid? Or
at what level when people
have because that's something that we
experience?
were debating the other day amongst ourselves.
What's the range? Because we talked to a guy, a friend of ours who witnessed orbs, all the way to what we experienced. What Randy was talking about, full on apparitions of a lady sitting in a chair, so. What,
and where did the rocking chair come from? Is the rocking chair a ghost? That's a joke that we put out there.
But what range do you commonly see? In that spectrum of orbs are audio all the way to full on apparitions, physically touching other the living. What do you commonly see?
For me, I'm very clairaudient, so I do a lot of where I can hear. But what you hear and see is based on what you're open to and what you've trained yourself. Because we don't, day to day, most people don't see stuff because as we grow up, we're told that, ghosts don't exist.
Right.
So we're trained to not recognize that stuff. But as you, open yourself up to that, one quick experience is we were investigating a mine up in Goldfield.
Okay.
And in the other room, I could hear what sounded like workers having a full-blown conversation. And there was nobody in that room.
Yeah.
And, I even went in there and checked. I'm like, did someone walk in? But then also at the same location, we were spending the night in the mine owner's home.
And you spent the night? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's awesome. See, I don't know if I can do
That's brave. I don't know.
Especially after hearing people in there.
I can't. I'm sorry. If I would have experienced that, I'd be like, hey, it's nice to know you. I'm out of here. I'm so sorry. And like I said, that's why I know that I'm not a full skeptic because, even when we had Scott on we talked about this topic, and he's actually a pastor, and and he kind of leans on the side of, may not be a real thing when it comes to paranormal, but whenever he drives past that same cemetery, he's always looking, but, maybe if you never know. And that's where I am. I was like, you never know. I don't want to put myself in that situation, especially after hearing Randy's experience and especially that experience. I'm like, do I really want one? Do I really want to experience it?
Well, I think people that do experience paranormal, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a blessing because it's they chose to come and it's in a way they chose you to experience this with them, if that makes any kind of so that's just how I see it. That's how I rationalize it anyway.
And that's how I view it too, because a lot of people I know see full apparitions and they can give you the detail down to the clothing they were wearing. And for me, I just see shadows.
Okay.
So it's kind of what and it's also what they want you to see.
Okay, you're giving off this era you're just one of the bravest persons in the world. Okay, so I want to bluntly ask you. I tip my hat
to you. Kudos, because you're braver than I.
Yes,
I would have been like,
goodness.
I'm gonna Uber out of here. I guess this is your guys' equipment now.
Yeah, I know,
am out of here. Yeah.
So honestly, has what I guess I don't know. I get the feeling that you're not scared. But wait, are you scared? Or did just
No, I view it as I'm confident, and I'm confident in my skills.
Okay, great.
So, and I know I want the answers, so I'm not going to let something scare me and have me running out the door. I mean, because you guys, if continuing on with the mine, that night I was woken up from a deep sleep to someone screaming in my ear. I didn't start the fire. And I looked around the room and everyone else there was sound asleep. So if someone was screaming, the whole room would have been woken up.
I'd have been like, be quiet, I'm trying to sleep.
And I just rolled over. I'm like, okay, thank you, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, right. That's where I would put the Benadryl in my pudding and be like, I'm out of here.
It'd be time for another shot. That's what that means for you.
Oh,
wow,
my God.
that is incredible.
Well, because, that reminds me of an experience I had one time I was at work, and I worked at a factory at that time. And we had to wear earplugs, and there's machinery, so you couldn't hear the guy next to you if you even tried to, let alone with the earplugs in. And I remember one day for some reason, I was just down and out, and I'm thinking about my grandparents who had long passed away, And I remember hearing my grandma call me, clear as day. And it was so clear, so believable that I turned around and I even answered her, fully expecting her to be there. And when I did that, everybody's like looking at me like, what are you doing, bro? Like, your machine's running, and you're over here like... And in my head, I'm like, man, I swear I heard my grandma, And then one time, too, I don't know if this is paranormal. Maybe it was more of a dream. But I remembered I was dreaming. And when I woke up, I smelled, because my grandma would wake up every morning and she would make coffee, tortillas, and everything. And I could hear my grandma and grandpa talking on the, in the kitchen table. And so I woke up and I heard them talking. I smelled, that old familiar smell, like if I was a kid again, and I'm sitting in bed. I didn't open my eyes because I didn't want it to end. But the minute I opened my eyes, I looked straight at the ceiling and I seen the popcorn ceiling. I'm like, oh my God, maybe my whole life was a dream, whatever. And then I get out of bed and I start seeing my room. I'm like, oh, it was just a dream. But it felt so real and it was so comforting at that moment that I was like, what the heck just happened? It took me back in time.
Yeah,
anyway.
so that's very interesting. So in your experience, Heather, like when people experience like paranormal, like these experiences, do you believe it's because it's a message that's being sent from the spirit realm or the ghosts, or like
that's a good one.
Like this unfinished business we had talked about in a previous show? Like,
right.
oh, that's why are spirits left behind? Is it all spirits? Is it some spirits? Like, what is your thought on that?
It's a variety of things. It's some spirits, because when it comes to the difference between ghosts and spirits are the ones that have passed over and they've just come back to check on things.
Okay.
Ghosts are the ones that are stuck here because of a traumatic incident, whether they were shot and they don't know they're dead, and they haven't crossed over yet. So they're the ones with unfinished business.
Right.
The spirits that come back, like the dream that you had, it was more of like just we're okay, and we're just here checking on you, letting you know we're okay.
And I love when they do that, because there's been a few times where I could feel my grandmother in my life, like that. Some would call it the hand of God moving in your life, but there's times where I'm like, only my grandma would do something like this, or my grandpa, and it's weird to say. Like when I say it out loud, I'm like, okay, I know this sounds crazy, but I also know what I felt, and I also know how. I don't know how to explain it, but I also, in a way, I also know that I believe this because I have experienced it. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing. I really do believe that. It's an awesome experience to have. So especially when it's a loved one, Yeah.
So
don't let it be Freddy Krueger or something.
So really quick, because I'm really interested. It's like I really want to next time I'm in Vegas. I was just in Vegas last month, and I would really like to join you.
That would be awesome. Would you have us there?
Yes, if you guys come out. Okay. No, don't come to Vegas. No.
You're all like, I'm busy that weekend. Yeah.
No, just let me know about when, and then I can reach out to some of my contacts. And if we don't have an investigation going that weekend, I can definitely get us into a location.
Oh, that would be awesome. And even if we could spectate, just even on an like, I'm just pushing myself on you, huh? Like even if if we're not just, as long as we could just be there, that would be cool, man.
Yeah, because awesome. It's really interesting. It's especially like meeting or talking to somebody that's actually a lot deeper into this whole world of understanding the differences between a ghost and a spirit. It's like in my mind, I didn't know there was a difference.
That's awesome.
And that's very important to know. And like going forward, like especially in all the research, I would say the minor research that we've done and some of the people that we've talked to. So it's been really interesting to talk to you, and I really appreciate the time that you spent with us. And we're coming close to the end of this segment. And number one, I want to just say thank you for the wealth of information and experience that you have. And I hope that this isn't the last time that we talk to you, because I don't think we scratched the surface at all.
No, we're just getting started.
It's been almost 30 minutes, and I'm like, well, this is not enough time to kind of talk about everything. And I hope you would join us again and continue this conversation. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, what is the best way they can do that?
They can find us on Facebook. It's Exploration Paranormal.
Okay.
Or they can search at Dr. Heather Leigh, and it's spelled Leigh, and that's my personal page where all of my blog stuff gets posted on.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to start following because
Me too.
I want.
Do you have a Facebook or anything?
Yeah, those are all both on Facebook.
Okay, perfect.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll put those up on this video or on this show so people can get in touch with you. And again, thank you. And I hope that you would join us again so we can continue these conversations, because there is so much more I want to talk to you about, especially some of your experiences. Go more in depth of maybe some of the more out there crazy. I don't want to say crazy, but the more like.
The paranormal. Let's just say what it is. The paranormal.
Well, the thing is, though, she said she got touched by a ghost. I'm like, I've heard about touched by an angel.
Yeah.
I want to hear about touched by a ghost.
I've been on that website.
So anyway, thank you again, Heather, very much for joining us. We really deeply appreciate it. This has been your host for the evening, Sir Rev the Servant with Play B. You've been tapped. Thank you for joining the TAP.